Hello everyone, Mark here. Welcome back to my garage. So, this is part 2 of the Emco milling head upgrade. Let's get right into it. What I'll do, I'll bring you over to the bench and take you through dismantling the actual milling head itself, so it's a bit more manageable for doing the drilling and tapping work on it. Okay, here we go. Right, what I need to do basically is get this rear block off the main head. So this joint here allows it to rotate. In fact, as far as I can tell, this would actually rotate 360 degrees. So let's start off by just taking a few bits off this. I'll start off by taking this clamp off entirely, which goes that way. Like that. Then the nut itself just falls out the bottom. Let's see, is there a washer in there? Nope, there's no washer in there, so not going to worry about that falling out. So now I've removed that, that makes it a little more easier to handle. I'm going to just, for the moment, figure out which way around this went. Shouldn't matter, but I'd rather make sure that way. So it came in from that way, so I will, for the moment, just to put that back on there. Put that in my magnetic parts tray so I don't lose it. Right, to change this I need to loosen that, and in theory if I take that out I think the whole lot should just slide out off the back here. So that's my next step. I believe it's 5mm once again. Oh yes, what a surprise, 5mm once again. Oh, that was tight. Well, that came out. You can tell that hasn't been out, there's paint residue on it. Oh, and out that came. Once again, there is no washer in the hole, but out it came. And it needs to go with the writing out again, just like any of them should do. So I'll just put that back together, put that in there. Now, that does indeed now spin. I need to try and figure out how it comes off. And right now I'm confused as to how that's being held in place. Ah, it is as I thought, it's just pressed on there. So if I'm clever at this, this should come off now. Sorry guys, that was out of frame. What I need to do now is just work out how I can carefully get this off here without risking damaging either part. So this is going to involve some muscle work, methinks, and I don't want to risk slipping things, hitting myself and swearing too much on camera, so I will come back once I've separated these two parts. Well, that got it off. That involved a bit more effort than I wanted to, but it finally came off. As it turns out, it's just a really close, like almost like a press fit, basically. I think what's happened is because of the fact that this has just been left clamped for so long, it's slightly out of circle, and it's such a close fit that it just required some force to get it past this outer lip here. But anyway, a bit of soft, gentle prying with something to protect the surface, and out it came. I've now dressed the actual surface here with some very fine emery. I think it's 600 emery, just to make sure I didn't scratch this up or gouge this up any more than it already was. Yeah, don't think I need anything with this bit right now. The only play that's in that currently is a small amount of end play in that. So I might see if there's any way like adjusting the spindle bearings on it, possibly. I've no idea. I will see. It might just be a press fit in which case there's no way of adjusting it, but I will certainly have a look into whether it can be tightened or adjusted. So I can put that bit, the actual head itself, to one side, because the part that I'm interested in is this bit, the actual clamp that holds it onto the column. I'm going to be drilling a hole through there, in that bit. So the next step now is to make sure that this bore is perfectly 90 degrees then, in that rotation, to the key that's going to go in here on the actual milling post itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over to the mill and let's have a go at lining this up, shall we? So I've temporarily put this back on here with its lock pin, so I can now line it up with the key on this side. What I've done, what I've pre-done, is this mill column is perfectly installed, rigid, nice and tight, and now I moved the XY position to the centre midpoint of the column. The exact dead centre of the column is in line with the exact dead centre of this plate, the actual cross-slide carriage. And then I've actually locked this in place, so this doesn't move anywhere. This can move in and out, that's fine, that doesn't matter. But I've now locked this in place, and there is a centre line scribed on it, so I know exactly where the centre of the vertical column is. Because now I need to find out the exact centre of this bore, where the bore is in between on here, which means I can then line that up with here, and once that's lined up, I can then mark and transcribe on this side exactly in line with the keyway, in which case then it'll all translate to be perfectly 90 degrees and square and coplanar, or whatever the hell the term is. I don't really know and I don't really care, but either way it will be square to the travel, which is the main point of this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this back off, and I'm going to just go over to the bench and take some very accurate measurements of the bore location in regards to the whether it's centered on here already or whether it's not centered on the casting. And then if it is, I can then use the outside dimension to scribe a dead center line, so I know exactly when it is in line with here. So see you in a minute. Okay, so I've laid out the exact center line. You can see it there. That is dead center of the hole, not dead center of the casting, because obviously it's this bore that needs to be, the center of this bore is what needs to be on center. As it turns out, the discrepancy is 0.16 of a millimetre, so it's not a great deal if it's ever so slightly off by that much. That comes to, I think, somewhere around 5-6 thou, I think, roughly anyway. That will be close enough repeatability on this for the work I need. At the end of the day, if I need it any more accurate than that for the specific job at the occasion, I use that to get it roughly in place. Then once I'm happy, I can loosen the set screws slightly, the keyway slightly, back it out ever so slightly, and tap it around as I need, or move the table around to make sure it's perfectly in-centered. But yeah, 6 thou is, I'm happy with that tolerance. So let's slide this on. This should just slide down. I'm going to wind that in. I don't want it to come off the edge of the bed, which it's not. I want that down on there. So then I can come in with my little Myford, it's a Myford one I've got, and I can then use this to come in to make sure that I am lined up correctly on where I need. apologies if I go a bit quiet at this point. I'm trying to get this to line up, obviously, perfectly, as close as I can get it, because the closer I can get it, then the more accurate this will be. There. That there should be on centre. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the lock lever back in to enable me to tighten this down once I know it's in place. I'm just going to put a slight amount of preload on it and come back in again with this to make sure I didn't move it. And just like that, I moved it too far. I apologise if you can't see this very well, my hand keeps getting in the way. I do have to see it as well to be able to actually get this to work. Right there. Tighten that down so it can't move. Bob's your uncle. There it is. And that lines up nicely the keyway. So considering I was worried about the height I'm going to get, when you've got the height of the milling head on here, I'm not going to run out of keyway depth and height on it. That makes me very happy. I was concerned about the length of the key, but as it turns out, that's rather perfect. So now what I need to do is identify the dead centre of the key, scribe that across on there, and it'll give me then the exact location along here, whereabouts I need to then have it this way on the hole for it to line up perfectly. That makes me happy. I think I'm going to do that after some tea though, because it's currently 7:15 in the evening. It's time for some munchies, methinks. So I'll come back out after tea. So next step is to now transcribe the keyway to the casting. So I'm just going to take my Sharpie and just create an area to be able to mark across from. Mark, my name, lol. God, if I had £1 for every time that happened when I was at school. I'd be a millionaire by now. There we go. Just make sure that's dried. I have got some acetone that I can use then afterwards to get the bluing off, which is absolutely fine. But okay, once that's dry, what I need to do now is very accurately mark from across where the edges of the keyway are, because then what I can do is measure between them, find the exact centre, and then that exact centre line then is where I need to drill the hole down here. So I'm going to have to move the camera to get in to do this, so I won't be able to show you this, I'm sorry. What I'll do is I'll bring you back once I've scribed all the lines and marked out whereabouts the hole itself is going to be. Okay, there we go. That has now marked and centre punched exactly where the hole needs to be. So what I'm thinking is in order to get this as accurate as possible, I mean ideally it would be to use this mill to do its own drilling, but obviously that's not going to happen. I'm thinking what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the 4-jaw chuck on the Myford, and I will put this in the 4-jaw and indicate it in and do the drilling, and then bore it to the exact size I need for the thread, because it needs to be a M6 thread, but I don't have the correct tapping drill for that, sadly. I've only got some basic drills, you know, just your basic normal set of drills. I don't have specific integers that would work nicely for the tapping drills. So, well, I don't think so anyway. I will go and double check now, but I'm going to put it in the lathe anyway to be able to get it perfectly on centre and make sure it drills and says perfectly for where I need it to be. So, let's take you over to the lathe and get it set up. Okay, so I've got it roughly in position, and I will admit there's only a small amount of run out there. Considering I did that by eye, lining that up in those jaws, I'm rather quite pleased. So next step now is I'm going to stick an indicator on here and now adjust this till that runs true. Then the bore will be perfectly centered. Let me grab my dial indicator. I'm going to use my nice Starrett dial indicator for this. Just wind the carriage back a bit because I can. So I can find a spot to magnetise to. Let's try on the bed just there. Some bits on the ways, let me clean those out. There we go. So I got my hand in the way there, just got to get this down. That's not going to work, idiot. It's too high. Right, let me try putting this in a different place. Let's try and move my chip tray to the side. Make sure the table's clear because I know it's metal, so I can lock it down here. Now I can get in. And let's give it a little bit of preload. There we go, make sure and then let's there we go. So let's see. Okay, so what, 46 hundredths. Okay, so that's the high side. So you all know how to do this. It's loosen the lows, tighten the highs. Well, I'm going to start off just by snugging up that one. I'm going to come round to the other side, which is the low. I'm going to loosen that, bring it back round, tighten that one. That's certainly a lot closer now. There we go. So let's find the low. There's the low. Let's just ever so slightly loosen that, bring it round to the high, which is this one. Tighten that. Now this is the low, so I'm going to tighten this one. I went a little too far. There's the low. Tighten the high. There's the low. There's the high. So we're at, so there's the low. So I'm going to come round and tighten this high. It's closer. That's the low, so I'm going to come round and tighten the high. High. low, high, low. Try just tightening this high first. So there we go. Now I've got as low, 3.5 have run out, so that's the high. I think that's going to be good enough for what I'm trying to do. I'm just going to make sure all the jaws are tight. Yeah, all the jaws are tight. So there we go. I'm not worried about cracking the paint, by the way, on the casting of this, because it's a working machine. I don't care if the paint gets cracked on it. If I need to, I can strip it down at some point and repaint this. I really don't mind. So there we go. That's now indicated in nicely. I just thought I'd show you the process of indicating on a four-jaw there on a square object. A good way of getting a centre mark nice and square with the axis of rotation, in case any of you are new to machining and you've never seen how it's done before, or at least one of the ways it's done. Like everything in machining, there are millions of ways of doing the same operation. So next step, just back the centre out. Take that out, don't need that now. I'll put that back in the drawer. Same as I don't need the live centre anymore, so if I back that out, it ejects it for me because it's a beautiful little tailstock this. Put that away over here. Now I just need to get myself a drill chuck. I think I'll use a number 34 Jacobs here. It's an actual genuine Jacobs. And seat that home. There we go. Swing that back a bit. Now I'll get my centre drills. Can't remember where I put them. Oh, they're over here. Personally, these are my favourite centre drills. Yes, they're not the cheapest centre drills out there, but they are well worth the money. Dormer are a great brand of drill and taps and dies and all sorts. Now for this, I'm going to go for number... Let's go for a number 3, I think. Should be about the right size there. Yep, number 3. I mean, at some point I want to get a keyless chuck, but at the moment there are other priorities I have for budgeting in this shop. First of which, believe it or not, actually, is lighting and rewiring, because I'm just not overly happy with the way all the electrics and stuff are in this shop. bring that in like that. Bring that in a bit closer so I don't need to worry about length of travel here. Lock that in. Right. What I'll do now is just back it up a bit, and I'll just let me turn the lathe on. Just got a few checks to make before I turn it on, part of the safety and all that lot, and then I'll move the camera back a bit so you've got a little bit wider angle of what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got the lathe turned on now. As you can hear, it's running. I've got it at the moment in the second belt position, and it's going at that speed, which is quite a nice speed, I think, because it's not a massively long hole that I'm trying to drill. It's not a massively big hole either. So let's get in here and let's commence drilling. There we go. I believe the centre actually went right through, so that's a bit different. Right, let's whip the centre drill out. I don't need that now. Now I'm going to use, it's a 6mm tap, and I'm not sure yet whether to use a 5.5 or a 5. Now it's a very thin wall, and I want as much thread engagement as I can, so I'm thinking probably 5. But I'm just going to quickly do an internet and find out what the actual size should be, so I don't risk making a massive bozo of this. Bloody typical, my 5mm drill is buggered, and it's a weird, not a usual standard drill cone grind on it. It's one where you need special fixtures to grind it, and I don't have that. So what I'm going to do instead is I've got a 4.5, and I'm going to drill it with a 4.5 and then come in with a 5mm reamer and just ream the hole to 5mm. It's the best I can do with what I've got. It's not the best, but it's all I've got. So let's get that in. Just tighten that down. Let's get this spinning. Let's bring my chuck in a bit, my tailstock in a bit closer. Get that spinning. Well, that went through that like a knife through butter. I'm genuinely surprised to how well this stuff drills. Idiot, needs to move the tailstock back. I'm an idiot. Bozo move, lol. Right, let me get my reamers. Okay, got my reamers. And find my 5mm. There's my 5mm reamer. Let me just verify that with my calipers to make sure that is actually 5mm. Yep. Perfect. Shove that in here. gentle snug. Doesn't need the pressure of might of Zeus tightening it. I'm not using cutting fluid on this because of the type of material it is and how short and thin it is, and the fact that I'm doing very small amounts of cutting at a time. Oh, like I bought one. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Let's just brush that off. My arm's in the way there, sorry. Get that out of there. Don't need that in there anymore. Thank you, Mr. Reamer. You did a great job there. Right. Let's have a look. That is a very nice hole there. We'll just get the tap itself and just see how it's going to fit. Yeah, I can tell that wants to bite straight away, so I know that it's pretty much the right size. So that I'm happy about. That I am indeed happy about. Because it's so soft, yes, I know you shouldn't do this, but I'm going to put I'm only going to hand tighten it, I'm not going to clamp it down, and I'm not going to power tap it before anybody asks. I'm just going to run it in by hand, putting some pressure on the sliding tailstock, and just have it cut itself. Just like that. Just to make sure. I don't want this to go wrong. And not to mention, doing it like this means that there's no chance of anything I can feel when the tap's starting to get clogged or anything like that. Oh, that went in like butter. There we go. Let's loosen that off, back that out of the way. And that unscrews out of there beautifully. Wonderful. Made some nice chips. Always nice when you get nice chips, even if they're not edible. That is wonderful, truly wonderful. Wunderbar! Let's just check out in here, make sure that looks good, which it does. Some nicely formed threads in there. I'm glad I went 5mm and not any bigger. So, that's all very, very nice, and just gonna deburr that front edge. I have a deburr tool, just gonna slide that out of the way. Just a little bit like that, just to break the front one. And then in theory, now, I come in with a bolt. Beautiful. Screws in there truly beautifully. No whackers. No whackers to that. Wonderful. Right, let's take it out of the chuck. Take out, it's nice and simple. Just loosen one jaw, hold apart, then loosen the other jaw, and out it comes. Now sadly I did muck up the paint, as I was expecting to do, but thankfully the only real places that you see the paint, it's absolutely fine because of where it is. Now I mucked it up a bit there, might have distorted the bore slightly, I don't know. I can't feel any distortion in here. Sorry, that was out of frame. Can't feel any distortion here, so that's fine. It's just paint damage. Same here, indented the side slightly. There may be a slight bulge in the bore there now, but that's fine. I can polish that out. I can just tidy that out a bit. The main thing now I need to do is deburr the back of here, because obviously that's now a sharp, it's got some burrs through there. The mating surface is here, perfectly fine still, and the only other damage, like I said, sadly, was here, on this paintwork here. Bit of a shame, but there's not really much I can do about that, because I don't have any jaw protectors. I don't even have anything to make jaw protectors with. And in the current lockdown that I've got, I can't get anywhere to get anything either, so a bit of a bugger that. Don't worry, the lathe's turned off. It couldn't spin up anyway with the chuck in there, the chuck key in there. Right, I will get over to the bench and deburr all this, clean it all up, make sure there's no bits in it that are going to interfere or scratch up anything. And then I will bring you back when I try it in the actual keyway. Lovely. There we go. That is lined up exactly with the centre line. I haven't moved this at all. And now that I've lined it up, the hole there lines up perfectly centred on the key slot. So I got that nice and perfect. That makes me happy, that's good goodness, that. I'm happy with that. Aye, that's grand. So the only thing left to do now is to modify this screw, which is going to act as the key. What I'm going to do is just, like I said, I'm going to turn down, let me get that focused, I'm going to turn down the end of it to the width of, just under the width of the keyway here, so that I can use this as the key. Because at the moment, it's just a bit wider. Basically, it's the width of the thread, the depth of the thread is what's currently stopping it going in. So that's the next thing to do. But it is tea time now, so I'm going to go in and get myself some grub, and I'll come back out after tea and turn this to make the key. And brilliant. That'll be this job jobbed.